Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining me tonight at the table. It's Wednesday night, 7 p.m., so here we are, live, coming at you from a different angle. Same room, just tilted the table just a little bit, just to get a little different angle on things, and I kind of cleaned up the room a little bit so I can move around a little bit more, but let me know what you think. So, tonight's topic, so you had a bad day. Something that's been on my mind since last Wednesday. As you know, last Wednesday I canceled the show at the last minute. I had a bad day. I had an incredibly bad day. And I wasn't feeling it. And I hated to cancel, but then I also knew I had Saturday coming up, which was the 1 year anniversary. And I just, I wanted to take a break. So I did. Just had to make sure my sound was working, that my microphone was actually turned on. But anyway, I wanted to talk about having a bad day. What is it that causes us to have a bad day? What exactly is a bad day? What's a bad day look like? Well, there's many things, and depending on who you ask. Someone can say, I had a bad day at work. And that's what I would have told you last week. It was just a rough day at work. Got through it. Everything's fine now. And honestly, can't really remember what it was like last week, how bad it was. I'm sure it was bad. But I'm past that. So it depends on who you ask. Someone maybe had a bad day at work. I remember the day I watched my father take his last breath. My dad, I sat there, I was with my aunt, my mom, and my sister. And we watched as he took a breath in, and that was it. That was a bad day. What happened later that day made it even worse, and I'm not going to get into that. But it was a bad day. Those that know me well or close to me, they know what happened later that day. But anyway, maybe you have a bad day if you just raked leaves and all of a sudden you got more leaves in the yard. We don't have to worry about that till fall here in the United States. I know in the Southern Hemisphere, they're coming into fall right now. I believe they're coming into fall, or maybe into winter. I can't remember now. But anyway, we're just coming into spring. Maybe you had a bad day if you got in a car accident. Maybe you had a bad day if you just aren't feeling well. You had a headache. It could be anything. It's depending on who you ask. The thing is, when we decide that we've had a bad day, we have to measure it against something, right? So for us to say, I had a bad day, that means that you've had other really good days. And then today just doesn't measure up to those other bad days. So the first thing you can do when you have a bad day is, let's remember the good days that we did have. That's why we're calling it a bad day, because we know we've had plenty of good ones that we're weighing it against. When we measure things by a standard. For example, if I had a yardstick, I would say this table is a little over a yard. Maybe it's a meter long. If I had a meter stick, maybe it's just a little over a meter. I'm not sure. I look at this cup and I say it can hold probably 8 ounces of liquid. I'm sorry, I don't know how many milliliters or deciliters that would be in the metric system. Funny story, just to get off topic for a moment. Second grade, okay, 1977. Okay, I was in second grade in 1977. Maybe it was first grade. I don't remember now. But anyway, the teacher said she had this big blue box, a round cylinder, and it said metric in white letters. It was a blue box with white letters on the side. It said metric. And everything inside it was like a tape measure that was measured in centimeters. There was some sort of a glass tube that was measured milliliters. And she was telling us how eventually the United States is going to switch to the metric system so we can be like the rest of the world. Right now, we're the only ones holding out. And I remember thinking, okay, something new. I mean, they were just teaching us how to measure inches and feet and things like that. And, so we're going to be doing centimeters and kilometers. And here we are, 2020. So that would be 43 years later, and the United States is still using inches, feet, pounds, liters, or gallons, pints. You know, we're still using our English system instead of the metric system. Sorry, I got off track there. Just something that made me think about that. But anyway, back to having a bad day. That day in 1977 was actually probably a good day until I told my dad. He probably said, yeah, they're teaching you a bunch of stuff that you're not going to be doing. He was right. But anyway, when we measure something against a standard, that's how we know what it is. If you watched the Bible study that Pastor Ian and I did last night, we talked about truth. And I said there is one place on the planet that is exactly 0 degrees north. It is true north. It is absolute north. If you're 1 degree on either side of it, you're either +1 or -1 degree outside of north. Okay? So that's not the truth. And I was talking about how you can be just outside the truth, but not be the truth. And I tell you, I could probably go on for an hour talking about that, but today we're talking about having a bad day. So what I'm saying is a bad day for one person might be just outside of what others consider a very good day. Someone may say to me, I consider it a good day when my car starts in the morning and doesn't stall on the way to work. Whereas someone else might say, I consider it a very bad day because my car broke down on the way to work. Again, it's a matter of perspective. Okay, so where am I going with all this? We all have had good days. Whether we want to admit it or not, we've all had days that we could consider good. Now, I know someone's out there is going to be saying, no, you just don't know me. You don't know. I've had bad days my whole life. Well, the day you were born was a good day for your mother, probably, and your father, probably. Maybe not, but it was a good day for you. It's a day that the Lord said, you will be born, a creation of His, a child of His. So what I'm getting at is, we sometimes let bad days just completely overcome anything good. For example, we can have a tremendous day, just one day, just tremendous, and say it's probably the best day we've ever had in our lives. Whether it be a day one of your children was born, a day you got a new pet, a day you get a new car, a new house, you get married, whatever it may be. One of the best days of your life, okay? That can carry you through a lifetime. But too often we let these bad days, even if it's just a simple little thing like I got a flat tire. When was the last time I got a flat tire? I remember it was very rainy and cold and I had to change it and I was freezing. That was a bad day. But I had to stop and think about that for a moment. But if I let that bad day just ruin everything going forward, it can negate all the good very quickly. What I'm saying is negativity can overcome positivity very quickly. You know, I believe that there's a reason God designed the atom the way He did. In the center are positive particles and neutral particles, neutrons and protons. They're packed tightly in the center. And what flies around on the outside of an atom? One of them if it's a hydrogen atom, two if it's helium, three if it's lithium. And we could go through the whole list, all 100 and I don't know how many there are now. We could go through and talk about all these atoms, these particles that are flying around on the outside. They're negative. They're flying around quickly around the outside, okay? While the positive's packed in tight. I believe there's a reason God designed it that way. To keep the negative at bay. While positive, the Lord Jesus Christ, and us, neutral, we can be positive or negative, are packed together with Him in the center. Think about, and when you think about an atom, think about us being packed together in the center with the Lord and the negative flying around us. I want to read something to you tonight from the book of Acts, a subject that I know we all know about, a subject that I'm sure we all have heard about, but a subject that, and not the book of Acts, I'm sorry, the book of Ephesians. Why did God want me to go to Acts? There might be something in there. Anyway, the book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Let me read that one more time. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground. And after you have done everything to stand, stand firm then. And he goes on to speak of the armor of God. Now, when I said this is a topic that we all know about, and I'm not just saying that, yeah, I've heard of the armor of God, okay? And I don't so much want to get into the armor of God tonight, maybe next week. I want to talk about what our fight is against. Is our fight against governments, politicians, people who don't believe the same way we believe? Is our fight against our neighbors, people we don't like, people on Facebook who are not nice to us? Who is our struggle against? Is it against fellow human beings? No. No, it's not. In the physical realm, that's all we see. I see a cup, I see a microphone, I see a Bible, I see a tablecloth, I see a table, I see a computer over here. I see me, I see a door, I see walls, a camera. You're seeing me. Physical. You're seeing books behind me. Physical. Is your struggle against any of these things? Well, Phil, you see, I slipped and fell and I crashed into the cement and broke my mug and it cut my hand. So yeah, my struggle is against... No. That is a physical struggle. That is a temporary thing. Our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, not people rulers. The principalities is another term. Against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world. And when he's talking about that, he's not talking about evil people in this world. Against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Here's where I'm going to ask you to not just go bury your head in the sand and say, I don't know what that means, I'm not going to deal with it. Because I know that's the first inclination that a lot of people have. I don't know what that means, I don't want to deal with it. I'm going to go to church and I'm going to listen to my pastor. Okay. Our struggle, the reason we have bad days, is not because of other people. It is because, I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I hear my washer going crazy in the background. I hope you don't hear it. Cover the microphone so you don't hear it. Our struggle is against the forces of evil that are all around us. This is a physical body, but within this body is a spirit and a soul. The spirit, like the Spirit of God, lives within this. My spirit lives within this body. The body is kind of like a protection. When Adam and Eve sinned, God gave them garments of skin to protect them in this world because he was sending them out into the world. So this body is like a protection, and it's a means of carrying my spirit through the world. I am a sentient being because of the gift of God. I can speak and communicate through language because of the gift of God. I don't communicate like an animal does through sounds and noises, but every once in a while I can how you doing? Or, hey, come here. But what I'm saying is we understand both the physical and the spiritual. Okay? When Satan was cast out of heaven, 1/3 of the angels were taken with him. Let's do the math. 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 equals one whole, right? 3/3 equals one whole. That means 2/3 of the angels were not taken. 2/3 of the angels are fighting for us. 1/3 is fighting against us. The negative that are circling around the atom, consider them like demons, the evil spirits, trying desperately to get in to the center, to cause disruption. Do you know what happens if you split that atom in half and you break apart the protons from the neutrons? Mushroom cloud, nuclear explosion, okay? That's what they're trying to cause, disruption. When they're circling around and they go so fast that you can't see them. They're spinning around so fast you can't see them. But if we can just ask God, let my eyes see what is around me. It's called discernment. If we can ask God, and if God would allow us to see what is around us, we'd see good spirits fighting against evil spirits. We might see evil spirits whispering in our ear, you're not good enough. You're not strong enough. Do you realize what a mistake you just made? That post you put on Facebook, do you know how evil that was? People are going to hate you. Just take it easy today. You don't have to do any work. Just be lazy today. Or maybe they're saying, when are you just going to give up? Just go ahead and take your own life. It's not worth it anymore. Nobody likes you. So tell me, was Paul not correct when he said, our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the principalities, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world? Yeah, the struggle is real. So, when we're having a bad day, not always, okay? We blame demons for just about everything when we get to understand the spiritual world. They're not responsible for absolutely everything. There's still this body that is sinful, that has sin within it, that wants to satisfy the desires of sin. And we do things on our own. We can't always say the devil made me do it. We do things on our own. But then you also have people that do come into play, yes. When your neighbor is fighting and causing disruption in your life, perhaps they are being influenced by evil spirits to cause them to fight. Perhaps it's their sinful nature causing them to fight. Perhaps they're having a bad day and causing them to fight. But it's causing disruption in your life. So it's the evil forces. It's the body itself, the sinful body. It's other people. They come together in this great warfare going on around us constantly. Sometimes it's the things we eat. Have bad chemical reactions in our body, and it affects our brain, and we don't act the way we should. We get irritable. There's all kinds of things that can cause it. But I want to talk about the spiritual forces that cause these problems in our lives. Because there's something we can do about it. We have the authority given to us by God to stop these evil spirits. 1977, second grade, yes, same year, I believe, maybe 78. A movie came out called The Exorcist. I wasn't allowed to watch it. Thanks my parents for not allowing me to watch it. Oh my goodness, my battery's going low. Well, I'm going to have to cut this night short because I didn't plug my computer in. My mistake. Okay, so if I get cut off, that's why. But anyway, that movie, The Exorcist, that's not the way it works. People have authority over demons, not the other way around. We have authority over them. We can prevent bad days by praying, by spending time with God, by praising God, by worshiping God. Let the Spirit of God come into you, and those enemies will flee. They will turn that bad day around. Okay, I think that it just continued to pick up where it left off. Interesting. Didn't know it would do that, but I'm going to go ahead and continue. So where was I? Talk about having a bad day, huh? That can make you have a bad day. But let's try to finish this up. Another rookie mistake on my part, didn't plug my computer in. But hey, that's how it goes. Okay, so our fight is against evil, more so than we realize. It affects us more than we... I don't know if I want to say more than we want to admit or more than we are able to admit. The more we understand how much it affects us, the more freedom we can find and keep it from affecting us. I do believe I'm still alive, but honestly, I don't know. I'm going to go with it that I am. At the very least, I'm recording this and I can put it on Facebook later. So, just remember, don't believe the lies. Don't believe the enemy telling you that you don't have control over them, because you do. I remember when I was first learned that I have control over the enemy, and I couldn't believe it. But yes, the authority is there, and we have it. So take that authority. Thank you, Ian, for letting me know that you're watching, and do something about it. Okay? God's power is beyond our measure, beyond our comprehension. God's power is not just kept to God. There's so much of it that we don't understand and we'll never fully understand, at least not here on earth. But there's so much that he has given to us. Jesus told us before he left the earth that all authority in heaven has been given to me, and he gave it to us. And he said, go and make disciples of all nations. We have his authority. We have his power. We can turn our bad days into good days. I want to read to you another passage that came to me today, and it was perfect for this situation. It comes from Psalm 27, verse 13. I am still confident of this. I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. That's here. That's here. That's right now. And we're going to see the goodness of the Lord. Your bad day, I'm sorry you had it. I've had bad days. You've had bad days. Sometimes we have 3 or 4 bad days in a row. Especially when the rain turned to snow last week. Oh my goodness, that was awful. It was May and it was snowing. That's okay. Those bad days can become good days because the goodness of the Lord will be seen in the land of the living. Tell me that's not something beautiful to behold. Tell me that's not something incredible to understand. Just, I'm just in awe of what God has done. So it's been a great evening, but it's also been a very unusual evening. Honestly, don't know how this thing just kept streaming when the computer was off. But hey, it happens. God is good. Thank you all for joining me tonight at the table. You've been a great audience. If you see this video afterwards, not live, I'm going to be watching. I want to see what happened in that dark time. If you could still see me and everything was off. I don't know. That was weird. Okay. So anyway, thank you all. And I'll see you again next week when we get together at the table. God bless you.